Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool.
But I was trying to find, there's this ancient, I think it might be Islamic idea, but I'm not even sure. That's what I was trying to figure out. Of the secret names of God, and each name held a power to it. So one was immortality, one was folding the earth, which meant you could just take a step and appear anywhere else on earth.
Yeah.
Because space was organized differently for you. And so you could know these words of God. And it's this really neat idea. And I was trying to look it up. Like, how many was it? 255? Was it 365? I couldn't remember. And I couldn't even find anything close to it.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those. The problem is, I wasn't using Google, but the problem is, I don't know what happened, but words that are used for multiple things now no longer work for searching in the slightest.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to look up, I don't know if the original art for Link shows him praying in a church to a cross.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up that picture, and so I typed like Link praying to cross, and it's like, you want to buy a cross? Links, because Link is a common word for
you have to go Link from Legend of Zelda praying to a cross.
But even that doesn't work, because it's like, oh, you said link, and you want a link. You want a link to the Legend of Zelda fan site? Because it ignores it half the words. One thing that Brave does that ticks me off to no end is...
Actually, ignoring half the words, I hate that.
Is I will type in a very specific series of words, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to narrow the results down to like 3.
Yeah. Must include all words, always.
Well, there's that, but I will also just, like, I just have a very specific sentence. I don't even use the brackets or anything, right? And Brave will say, sorry, we're not getting many results from this query. Try using more general terms to get more results. No, I don't want 1,000 results. I want 1.
Yeah. Give me any you got.
So it's okay if it has 3 results. That's fine. I want 3 results. I don't want, like, oh, you can serve me 100,000 useless results in 2 seconds. I don't care.
I think there's a...
Remember when every search engine used to do that? They're like, 0.04 seconds and 3 million results for the best. Yeah.
And Google had ooh. Yeah. You don't get that anymore. You don't get the Google O's. But there's a search engine that you give it a general thing, and so it takes that as its baseline. So, like, you could search Reddit with it, and then you type in a word, and it will give you every single instance of that word coming up. So it's like the Control F, but you can do that for like a web service.
Yeah, you can do that. You type site.reddit and then you type your search.
Yeah, I'm saying there's also...
A site : Reddit.
Yeah, there's also just a search engine that does that.
A start page might be what you're thinking of?
Maybe.
That's how old search engines used to work, sort of, was they would just give you everything that was related to that.
And then what they should do is the one that's being clicked on the most should be at the top, and it should go and list a priority of which one is being viewed the most. And don't do any other algorithms.
Well, I don't know. Like Google 2000...
And then throw a wild card in every once in a while.
2009-ish Google. Yeah. They were doing a little bit of magic there, and it was working.
Yeah.
The problem is...
Even 2012 had that.
The problem is when you throw in a little bit of magic, other than just most popular, right? You have the AI actually think, like, this is what you want, even if you didn't say it. Yeah. Like that's pretty cool. But the problem with that is people can figure it out, and then they start abusing it, and that's where SEO comes in.
Yeah.
And then people start adding terms into their website to get the AI to notice them instead.
Yeah.
And then everything falls apart, and then Google changes the formula to avoid that a little bit, because,
and that's... AI should take over search engines, honestly.
But then the issue is, on top of that, so
you should have a slider. Like you said, I really agree with your idea. You should be able to choose... There should be a default SEO, and then you should be able to self-generate your own.
Oh, like your own algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even, oh, this is what you might like. It's like, no, you go into the options, and you go...
I want the most popular one, but I don't want... anything from Korean servers, and I want things that would interest people who like motorbikes.
And every once in a while, throw in a 500 or less view video.
Yeah. Yeah, and then see what happens. Yeah, and just something you can tweak and play around with.
Yeah.
That would work for, especially for... I hate saying the word even, but feeds. Like Twitter or YouTube's recommended or something. Like if you're looking for something specific, it's almost less necessary in some ways.
Yeah.
But because then Boolean search is your friend theoretically, but it doesn't seem to work anymore. But with the what is being displayed to you, it'd be really nice if you could choose what was displayed to you.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, what are you doing? You're giving 3 points to anything that is upvoted on, but 5 points to something that's commented on. I want 20 points for comments and 1 point for upvotes.
Yeah.
Or I want 0 points for upvotes and 10 points for downvotes and 300 points for comments. I'm ready to look at people fight.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to choose where the point, how the point weights get distributed.
A lot of comments I get on some of my videos, like it comes up every once in a while, especially in my wildfires mod, is like how did I end up here? Or it's like, oh, seeing what the YouTube algorithm gave me today. And I just always think about that ZP sketch of where he just goes, algorithms. And like the most demented, like, why am I getting this? Just like that demented, this is why that is. And it sums it up.
Yeah, I think the basics of how it works is it has, I don't know how many, let's say 1,000 groups.
Yeah.
And it says, okay, people, and it didn't even choose the groups, the AI did. And it said, okay, so they basically said, what are the 1,000 most common variables between everyone? And it said, okay, here's the 1,000 most common variables. This is how the original StyleGAN image generators were created as well, back in like 2015. And then it says, okay, so here's 1,000 of the most common groups. And then you say, okay, now can you group our users into their top 10 of each of these? Yeah. And it says, okay, so this guy, he would fit in these 10 groups the closest. Yeah. And then you say, okay, now what do people in this group watch the most? And it's like this, what videos do these people watch the most that they haven't seen? Yeah. And then, okay, show them those videos. And that's how it's done.
Yeah, and then there's a little bit like, what do you keep watching? Because sometimes you get recommended music you've listened to 3 times, so this keeps you on the site longer.
Or sometimes you see a video and you're like I saw this video, it was Infinite Hang Glider and Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. And I thought, oh, is this a spoiler for like an Infinite Hang Glider? And I was like, oh, I don't want to get spoiled for that mechanical thing, right? Not Hang Glider, Stone Glider. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I don't get spoiled that you can get infinite gear. But I was like, no, maybe it's just a glitch. Maybe, okay, I have to see it just to see if it's a glitch or not, basically. And the guy started the video. It was actually, because the thing is, people just love chucking spoilers on their thumbnails and like spoiling everything, right? And so I was like, oh, this guy just spoiled everything. I clicked on the video, and it's not. It's a guy, this really well thought video, beautiful Donkey Kong music in the background, just this very calm. He's like, you know, this game has a slight problem, and here's my fix to it, and this is, you can do this little glitch to make this work, and it's just this really well-made, nice video. But it's like, I have no trust for these people, and I feel bad that I'm not trusting this guy. But it's like, okay, so that's what the video is. That's cool. But I clicked on this one video, and now it's like, you want this glitch? This is our best spring launcher yet. I didn't know there's like, I don't want to see it yet. Anyway. Maybe at some point I'll get into it, because I'm sure the speedruns for Tears of the Kingdom are the coolest thing on earth. But I don't want to watch those yet. But
there was a video which was, it's the Game of the Year fight between Anime Games. Yeah. And Link from Tears of the Kingdom is one of the characters, and so they're all fighting over this trophy, and he grabs the trophy at one point, attaches it to his own sword hilt, so it's like using his weapon. Then at another point, someone basically has their ultimate weapon ready, and they fire at Link, and he binds it to a stick and then starts wielding it, and like the fight's going, and everyone's about to get to it, and he comes in with a mech and just starts fighting people, and then the mech freaks out. Then they're all fighting, and everyone's about to grab the thing. And he just turns back time, the trophy goes flying off, and they all go chase. It's just like, everything makes sense until Link is thrown in, and then it's like, he is this entity. Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom Link is literally this entity of chaos.
So I bet there's amazing speedruns. Yeah. But there's all these like, people like getting the best spring launch cannon, whatever, version 17 and whatnot. So, but I'm not recommending, like, it's like I've stumbled into the like Redstone community of Legend of Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, so I am interested in VTubers too. Like, I like Neurosama because it's an interesting concept. So I watch some of that stuff.
Like Pipkin Pipka because you're a Nazi. You're like,
I actually don't really watch.
There's another good N-word, Nazi.
Well, Nazi is a weird word, actually.
But it's got a bit of an Egyptian taste.
Yeah, well, exactly. And
very dwarvish. Kazakh-dur.
well, it's very gear-like, actually. Because it's got dwarven by Egyptian. Dwarves plus Egypt equals gears. Anyways.
I think that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
You know that they had the gear as their symbol, right?
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
No, the original Nazi swastika logo was inside a gear, not a circle.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a little bit of magic.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. Meme magic. Where was I?
Ah, yes. Buttfish. Sorry, buttfish. All right.
No, where were we?
Swim up the colon.
Where were we?
We were...
It's usually you ask me to be thinking about Nazis and gears completely different on my brain.
We were...
Videos, yes. Well, so, Pimpin' Pick VTubers. So, I've been looking up how to make a 2D a VTuber model. And my thing is actually kind of an eldritch horror, because the reason why VTubers look the way they do, to an extent like there's some variation, is if you don't do that, they break. Like that, they just break. You have to do things, and so that like the app was built for that style. That's how that style works. I'm slowly understanding it, but I've been looking.
Did you look into that plugin with like the octopus on the head and stuff?
No, I haven't gone that. I'm just trying to make one.
I just really liked the idea. It was like this dude, and he's like, I can't be a VTuber and a guy, so I'm gonna have this hot girl, and I'm gonna be the octopus on her head.
I'm going to do that eventually. I'm going to have like a little rabbit that I can put a Templar helmet on. So it's going to be a rabbit with a Templar helmet, and it's going to be held kind of like in a struggling position by the Lorthorn model. And what I want to do is have like two different models. So it's like, it's got its normal face, so a rabbit face animates, but when it's got the Crusader helmet on, like the Crusader helmet's eyes can like bulge and like the little visor slots move around like a mouth. So I'm planning to make that, but I'm currently just trying to learn how to do it. So I generated a model that has no right of being a VTuber model. It looks like a artistic drawing.
Yeah.
With one of the models. And so I'm trying to VTuber model it, and I'm trying to figure things out. I'm learning some things, and like how they do the rotations. They're all 2D, but they like warp them and bend them to do stuff. And its mouth is a nightmare. The thing that I made, and I can't figure out how they do the mouths on VTubers. My thought is probably a lot of actual like pictures, and it's actually a 2D animation instead of a stretch animation, which is how my mouth works. But I think a lot of mouths are a lot of keyframes of 2D animation, and then they stretch and warp them, and then once it goes too far, they switch it to a keyframe of a different mouth animation.
Could also be, well, yeah, I guess you'd have to do that.
Because how mine works, my eldritch horror of a mouth, is I started with drawing a closed mouth, and I tried to have two pairs of lips. Did not work. Like a lip on the top, lip on the bottom. So what I did is it's a mouth that's partly open with a hole in it, and then behind it is a mouth, and then the teeth are in between those two, and so then the mouth deforms and stretches, and the teeth move individually around, and then like the back mouth deforms and moves.
Why don't you do it like Terry Gilliam, like the Nutcracker sort of?
It is like that. It's like that. It literally is like that, but with more steps. So that's why I'm calling my mouth is an eldritch horror. And I hope it works when I actually try and make it work. But anyways,
they don't have like assign this keyframe to this vowel sound, and then there's a voice recognition.
No, that is what the 3D one does. But the 2D one doesn't do that. It has like mouth open, mouth closed, mouth wide, mouth short. And maybe you can do it slightly better with the frames, but this one's not based on sound, it's actually based on your mouth shape, and you can probably do more with basing on sound, like the 3D model does. The 3D model, it listens for A, E, O, like all the sounds, and then it also looks at what your mouth's doing.
I wonder which one takes more computer power.
Like
not rendering, but in terms of voice recognition of sound versus face position.
Like with some of the 3D models I've made, if I open my mouth as wide as I can, and then I scream, the mouth glitches out and gets wider than the face. You can make it do that if you're not careful with your parameters. But anyways, so I'm doing all this, And because I'm looking up these tutorials of VTuber, I'm getting bombarded by VTubers I don't care about. It's like, don't recommend this channel, don't recommend this. That's not Nero-sama, that's not my Nero-sama. Like, it's literally, it's not Nero-sama. It's not the few funny clips of Pumpkin Pika, who I actually do like the few of her weird clips. And so, who are you? No, go away. Who are you? Go away. Go away. Go. I don't want any of you. Get out of my YouTube recommendations. Be gone, thought. Sorry, have my queen.
But it is...
And it's really annoying because I was looking up tutorials. I wasn't
But you find like let's say you like Patrician. Unfortunately, I don't. But let's say you like Patrician TV, right? And so you click on his video. It's this 9-hour long video on Morrowind.
Yeah.
And you watch and you're like, this is the best video ever. It'll never recommend you a video by this guy ever again.
Yeah. Well, actually, the thing. So there's an ASMR channel who's my favorite. It's Creative Whispers, and I really like her stuff because she has like self-awareness to a point. She has sass with the things. She does like interesting roleplay. Like she's having fun with it. You can tell she's having fun with it. And so it's like I watch her and I watch Fred's Voice. Those are the two people I watch basically for ASMR. So I type in ASMR, just ASMR. I don't get either of them. It's like YouTube. If you look at my history, these are the two people I watch exclusively for this thing called ASMR. Why are you giving me the most heinous, disgusting videos? Oh, la.
Eating a live octopus, ASMR.
No, I'm not going to even describe it to you. It's so gross.
I'm just thinking of some pictures I saw now. Ugh.
Yeah, it's those.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I report those videos. I call them they're too vile to be a thumbnail. I report them.
I don't think this was quite that level that I'm thinking of. I have a very low threshold for...
Yeah.
But I did the Moral Foundations test on one website.
Yeah.
And it's like, the averages are like 50 to 70, and I was like 90% impurity.
Yeah.
It's like, burn it all!
Yeah, but it's literally, these are the two people I watch in this category.
Yeah.
And then it's like V. I mean, he's obviously suppressed.
He's a VTuber.
Yeah. Well, no, that's lack of entertainment.
Very different person.
Well, so I don't get recommended V or lack of entertainment, and I watch those two channels. But if I go to my search bar, and because I search it so often, it's in autocomplete, and the autocomplete says has new videos. It's like,
oh, weird.
Why don't you recommend V and like that to me?
That's...
And I'm fine going and searching it out, but it's like, why are you doing this? And I mean, one of the things, like the random things, like you do get recommended random things sometimes. I came across Aristocratic Utensil. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I've heard of Spoon.
Or he is a spoon. He's a spoon. It's a monocle. It's got a pipe. It's got a top hat.
Yeah, that might be Spoon.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, his name is Aristocratic Utensil. That's the channel name.
Okay.
And he's a...
libertarian, right?
No, he's a monarchist.
Right, but he's so libertarian he became a monarchist.
Yeah.
He's one of those... It's the libertarian to monarchist pipefight.
Yes, he's...
Yeah.
And he ends his videos, I think, with one of my favorite catchphrases, which is, "And once again, I apologize for nothing." And he has some takes I completely disagree with, and he's very harsh. He's incredibly sexist.
I've seen him once, and he's a bit of a whiner. I don't know.
Yeah. He's incredibly sexist. He has very, very strong-held opinions. But, like, the thing he says at the end of his videos, "I apologize for nothing," is basically like a self-vaccine to avoid trolls remorse or something.
And then he'll say, "I apologize for not apologizing." Yeah, no, I don't know much about him. I just saw, because he does stuff with Aiden Paladin, and I watch her videos a bit, so
yeah,
I saw him talking about.
He's a South African that lives in Europe.
And so she's an American that lives in the UK, I think.
Oh, does she live in the UK now?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got a very pompous accent, and he admits to having a pompous accent. And it's like, any idiot could explain this to you, but because I'm explaining to you in my accent, it's going to actually stick in your brain, and you're going to respect it. He's aware that because he has the pompous accent, he has some power from it.
He kind of reminds me of Teal Deer in a way.
Yeah.
Like a less academic Teal Deer.
He's a less academic Teal Deer. That's a good thing.
I wonder if he's still around.
He is.
I feel like these...
Teal Deer's on Rumble.
The question is, do these channels fade or do I fade?
They fade a little bit. They get murdered like teal deer.
Yeah.
They quit operating and have a horrible life, like the flaming brain.
Yeah. Harmful opinions.
Yeah, harmful opinions.
Yeah, their life just falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just switch things, or they change to a different thing, like that. The Ducky of Awesome channel, that guy just quit.
Armored Skeptic became a conspiracy theorist channel for some reason. Yeah.
Well, even know how Mango married the spiffing Brit.
Mango?
Yeah, So his wife's name's Mango.
He married a mango?
She
was that a tax break thing or something?
No, she was a streamer, and her name was Mango. And she quit streaming though because she now edits his videos. And so she used to be a streamer, but now she
Did she exist, or did he like put a mango on a live stream for a tax break and then marry it? Like I know in France you can marry dead people. But...
She existed before him. Actually, a lot of people were saying like one of the problems with them getting married is, oh, you're a gold digger. You just want to be associated with the spiffing Brit, and so she's.
No, he has a prenup. He obviously has a prenup. Yeah. He has a prenup that if she divorces him, he gets her house
and her soul.
He gets the next house she buys.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to marry him.
Yeah, but it is more. It wasn't like a gold digger. It's more like you're just riding off the spiffing Brit's fame.
Hello there, lads and lassies. Today we're looking at a very special, particularly interesting exploit where if you submit a prenup to two different law agencies on the opposite side of the world, you can get the paperwork filled out before they're able to contact each other. And therefore, at the end of the divorce, you actually get twice as much of half of her stuff.
You get twice the settlement. Oh, it's a very good exploit.
Now, to do this, first we're going to have to marry someone. So I found this streamer named Mango. Now, this was, of course, recorded a couple of years ago. But here's the video of the proposal where I made sure... I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't want to go.
But it's very funny. Just during...
He's about my age, right?
Yeah, he's a little older.
I think he might be a bit younger, actually.
Okay, he's a little older than me.
Yeah.
But during the Civ stream, apparently Deltos has been doing like tons of learning. He plays a lot of Civ with his community of like Zoof and all those people who actually know how to play it. Been doing tons of learning. And during the Civ stream, he's complaining like, I don't get it. I practiced really hard. I was going to be really good at Civ. Then I show up, and Spiff is Spiff, obviously. I can't get on his level. And for some reason, Lewis is Lewis. And like he doesn't know all these strategies, but he's just better at the game than me.
Civ is easy. Just go into money. Money.
Well, actually, it was kind of insane during the stream because Spiff got a headache. And so he went and had to lie down for a nap. Now, his computer in the stream setup happened to be right next to Lewis.
Yeah.
Lewis needed Spiff to be alive in the game for Lewis to survive because they're allies. And so Lewis, while fighting a war with Ben, was also playing Spiff's Civilization. So he's like running back and forth playing two civilizations at once. He was first and second place in the score of the game. Then Spiff came back. It's like, oh, my empire actually still exists. And then Deltos and Ben were attacking Lewis at the same time. Lewis lost only one city and won the game in the end. It's just, he ran two empires at the same time, managed a war that should be impossible to win, and then won the game.
No, it's kind of weird.
And he was playing against Potato and Spiff, and he won this game.
We were talking about like the pattern bucket and the rational step-by-step bucket, and it's interesting with Ben because he's like a world champion tactician, like literally.
Yeah.
And he's decent at strategy, but he's not great at it.
Yeah.
And then
he's good at the Ben work though.
But he's quite good at like logistics, I guess.
Yeah.
But logistics isn't what it takes for a tactics game.
Can you like?
Well, actually, no. In Lewis and Ben Saves the World, he was doing the fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wasn't doing the Ben work. Lewis was doing the Ben work.
I was just, can you imagine, like, if Ben...
Like, he beat Terror from the Deep on hardest difficulty.
If Ben Edgar from Theologsgas was, like, it's, like, Napoleonic era, or, like, even a little bit earlier. But anyways, and he's a military general.
Yeah.
And then we have, like, the painting of, like, this amazing general. And it's the most boring man. So, why do they have a default profile painting?
That's just the one that you start with before you do the rest of the painting.
Yeah, but that's just him.
We just look. So we've got Napoleon. He's high up in the government. We've got his brother. We've got his wife, and we've got the King of England, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know when they're going to request a painting. So we just painted 20 Ben portraits.
Yeah.
And then they come in, we add the details, boom, we got a Napoleon picture. But then this Ben guy, this guy, he became famous. So now, easiest job in the world. He's like, I need a portrait. We're like, bam, done.
Yeah.
He's the character select character. But yeah, he's also the character select life. Like,
Yeah.
you hear about his life, it's like, yeah,
I worked here. Oh yeah, I worked here. Oh yeah, I worked here.
Oh man, can you imagine working at a cake factory? Oh yeah, I worked at a cake factory.
Yeah.
Why'd you work at a cake factory?
Speaking of like the pools, though, I thought we were going. What is Spiff's pool? It's like exploit the world, and that's all he needs.
Oh, yeah. You know, it is interesting that in so many
Like
games,
he's successful. Like literally, if Spiff wasn't doing video games, like I feel like he'd be successful at what he would go into.
you know what makes Heroes of Might and Magic such an interesting game? 4X game almost. It's not a 4X game,
Yeah.
but what makes it interesting is you can't focus economy in it.
Yeah.
That's not true of basically every other like strategy game. Focus economy, everything else tends to work out.
You need to go adventuring in Heroes of Might and Magic.
You
You need to get the magic sword.
Because-
you need to take the risk. You need to build an early army and go kill the dragon so you can get the gold mine.
The treasure, but even like there's the gold
Yeah.
mines, but the treasure you pick up is actually worth
Yeah.
way more than
Yeah, the treasure chest, defeating the dragon castle.
yeah, that's worth way more than like you can get like
Yeah.
25,000 gold from the Dragon Castle or something.
Yeah.
Maybe 50,000.
There's only
That's like 50 turns of a gold mine.
there is one nation you can play the economy with, and that's that's the dwarves and elves.
Oh, the Rampart. Yeah.
Yeah, the rampart.
Oh,
You
so-
can play economy with them, but their economy is improved by you picking up treasure chests.
So-
Like I've literally played on one of the campaigns I played. I would purposely like, okay, I could buy this thing now, and I would get more units for buying it now. But if I save my money, the next week I'll have even more money, and that'll let me do this instead.
So the gem campaign, you
Yeah.
only ever play as the Rampart against the Necromancers.
Yeah,
Right. So I finally beat the gem campaign on impossible difficulty on Iron Man mode.
yeah,
Which doesn't exist. I'm self-enforcing it, but I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm doing it to myself. I don't need to be playing. It's not meant to be an Iron Man game, but
Yeah.
I'm doing it to myself because I hate myself. I don't know. So I finally beat it. It's like, okay. Then I started playing the Craig Hat campaign, and it was such a relief to not have to be worrying about economy.
you have to play
That's
Craig. You can't play Craig Hack's campaign economy.
No, you can't. Well, they don't give you any. Have you done his campaign?
Yeah, I did his campaign. You can't play.
Have you done it
economy.
on impossible difficulty?
No.
It's almost impossible. Like it is not designed for
Like,
impossible.
how
It's
you pl-
so hard.
How you play Craig Hack is you scream like a lunatic and charge the enemy, get a few strong units, and then you charge the objective and try to run away from the massive army that's chasing you because their armies are bigger than yours and you
Yeah.
just have to beat them. You have to win 3 battles, then get the objective and win.
Like it's so hard. Holy cow! I think it's
Yeah.
the hardest Heroes maps I've ever played on impossible
Yeah.
because like the towns they design so they don't give you anything, right?
Yeah.
And the map gives you nothing, and you don't have any heroes you can get to help you get your economy going.
And your enemies are stronger than you.
And on impossible, you start with 0 of every resource.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. Like I've never tried and failed more than the second Craig Hack mission. Although
Yeah.
I've heard that's the hardest mission in the entire like game,
Oh,
possibly.
that's good to know because I had so much trouble with his mission too as well.
Although the Horn of the Abyss team said that their factory campaign is going to be so hard they recommend veteran players don't play on impossible.
Yeah. Do you know how I did the Craig Hack? Like, I just got screaming and running around. Is literally there. You know the objective point?
The castle you have to kill
Yeah.
on the first mission. Yeah.
So the second mission.
The second mission you have to kill a Death Knight. I haven't
Yeah.
actually found him.
Yeah. So
I can guess where he is,
Yeah.
but don't tell me. But I
I'm
can
not.
guess.
But my strategy for that is because I like the few times I tried to play.
I also hate that map design.
I tried to build up an army and it just wasn't working because like those more powerful enemies come, and so the time that how I beat it is literally I had Craig Hack, I had his army, and because he's faster than everyone because he's barbarian, I ran around the map in circles.
Well, that's how you beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, taking castles, getting troops from it, then running away, letting them take the castle back. So I did about 3 laps of the map, and then I just blitzed into the zone you have to win and kill.
Did you notice that the map design is a Mott and Bailey for the opponent?
Yep.
Like you can attack their positions, and it takes you like 3 turns to get to their castle.
Yeah.
Their castle has no walls, so you can't stay there. But they can teleport directly to its gates.
Yeah.
So if you take their castle, you have to leave instantly, and they can take it back the next turn.
Yes.
So it takes you 3 turns to take it. It takes them 1 turn to take it back, and then you have to be running for another 4 turns.
Yep.
So it's a Mott and Bailey map, and I hate it.
Yeah.
And the AI army, I played a flawless game. So there is a starting refugee camp, right?
Yeah.
So I got there day 2.
Yeah.
Green dragon. So I grabbed the green dragon.
Yeah.
I poured all my resources, grabbed the green dragon, cleared everything flawlessly. I was buying a building every turn, starting with 0 resources. I was buying a building every turn.
Yeah.
Behemoths week 1. So I have Behemoths, I have a green dragon. Next week, gold dragon. I grab the gold dragon. No.
Have you noticed that in his campaign you can't have goblins or orcs or ogres in your army?
No, that's all I've been using to win, basically, is orcs and goblins.
You can have the upgrade orc, and you can have the upgrade goblin.
Oh, I see what you mean, because they're so slow.
You can't have, like...
Actually...
You can't have anything that's medium or slower in your army.
So here's the thing. I beat the first mission.
Yeah.
Took me, like, 5 tries.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Because I had to develop a build order where...
Yeah.
Because I had to blitz the tavern.
Yeah.
Because you need more people. You just can't do it without more people. So I had to blitz the tavern. And then I got to, and I just couldn't beat the Craig Hack second mission at all. I tried and I tried and I tried. I almost beat it once, made a misplay. If I hadn't done the misplay, I would have won probably.
Yeah.
But because I'm doing Iron Man to myself,
Yeah.
and it was like 4 months in, I was sick of it. I was like, okay, I give up.
Yeah.
And I was almost willing to give up on the Iron Man, but I didn't.
One of the, not gem campaigns, the glue campaigns is actually impossible if you take too long.
But the thing here was, I never got logistics.
Mm.
In the first campaign. And
Yeah.
so I was actually slower than the AI the whole time.
Yeah.
So what I did was I went back to the first mission
Yeah.
and I replayed the entire game from the start.
Yeah.
And this time I just took my time. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to weaken the AI till they're useless. Then I'm going to get every pickup on the map. I'm going to get exactly the right spells, exactly the
Yeah.
right skills. And now I'm going to do the second half.
Logistics and Pathfinder are really important for Craig Hack.
Yeah, I didn't have either.
Yeah, the glue campaigns, I don't know.
And wisdom, I was like, I'm not sure.
Have you done glue?
No, I've only done gem and I'm just starting Craig Hack.
Okay, so glue's campaign is different than those two as well, because glue's campaign, you want to build up. He's based around building up. However, if you take too long, it actually becomes impossible, because you know weekly growth of stacks.
Yeah.
You
just can't get
in
past.
the second campaign, there's a stack of ghost dragons that exponentially grows. And so if you take too long, the campaign's actually impossible. And so you have to like beat after a certain amount of time, but you have to build up to a certain amount. It's really annoying.
Well, I'm getting very good at being very fast. And I don't like it because what I do is, to be really fast, you have to take really hard fights.
Yeah.
And the problem with early game this is my biggest gripe with Here's My Magic 3. 2 doesn't have this problem. But Here's My Magic 3, early game hard fights are so micro intensive. It's a real pain because you basically, if you have a flyer, you have to just kite stuff forever. If you don't have a flyer, you have to build a little ball in the center of the map, and you have 7 units to move to the corner.
That's why Firewall's your friend.
Not if you're Craig.
No.
Nothing's your... And then compounding it, it's... The other thing, though...
You have to accept that you're going to lose your Thunderbirds when you play Greg Hack, and it hurts.
It's...
You have like 100 Thunderbirds, they're so good, and you lose 40 in a fight.
I attacked... I don't know what happened. I don't know how this happened, but I attacked a group of ogres with the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
And the ogres didn't die.
Yeah.
I thought they would die, but they didn't. And then just half my birds...
Yep.
And it's like, that's my damage guy.
Yeah.
This was the final fight, so it didn't matter what I lost. Like, I was guaranteed to win, basically, because I had 11 Behemoths.
Yeah.
But I was just, my birds.
Yeah.
I liked my birds.
I think it's literally Thunderbirds are one of the few units in Craig Hack's army that can roll really bad, because sometimes they attack and they just deal no damage.
Yeah, and sometimes they do max damage, and then they hit a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And they just kill everything. Well, they're all glass cannons.
Yes.
Except for the orcs and the ogres. The orcs can, like, fight in melee without... Like, it's crazy. Like, they have a melee penalty, but they can still fight in hand-to-hand.
Yeah, you have your Ghost Behemoth, And it's like, all right,
Ancient.
You have your ancient behemoth. So, all right, if it hits these black dragons, 3 black dragons are going to die. The black dragons go first. They hit your ancient behemoth, and you have 2 left.
You have a pile of bones.
Yeah, it's like, no,
But like
my babies.
the Wolf Raiders, it's like they do the damage of a tier 4 at tier 2.
Yeah.
As long as nobody retaliates against them.
Or even hobgoblins, like you send forward your massive hobgoblins.
Well, that's the fun thing about playing as Craig Hack, right? Like, I'm fighting archers. I send like 5 hobgoblins to block the archers. And I'm like, I'll get a smack in. Archers go down. I'm like, yeah. Because Craig Hack hits so hard. But yeah, the other thing about that mission with playing Craig Hack after playing as Gem so much, because Gem only fights necromancers. It's like, I can see. It's beautiful.
Oh, enjoy glue.
Well, isn't...
He fights necromancers. Pure necromancers.
I liked in the Craig Hack campaign too, when Sandra's talking to him, he's like levitating the image of the skull amulet, and Craig Hack's trying to grab it from the air. He's like, "Oh, pretty." And Craig Hack as well. He's like,
No.
He told me that this was stolen, but they said it's a family heirloom. Those stupid lying barbarians. Sandra wouldn't lie to me.
No, one of the most painful thing about the glue campaign is you get sharpshooters. And
there's just pain already.
You get a lot of sharpshooters. And I think the AI has like a thing. Like, AI likes targeting archers anyways. But if the AI sees that you have like 5 titans and it can kill all 5 titans, or it sees you have 5 sharpshooters and it can kill all 5 sharpshooters, it'll kill the sharpshooters instead, just to spite you.
Well, sharpshooters have the highest damage to health ratio in the game.
Oh, is that what their attack priority is based on?
Probably. It might that's a factor, I believe, because they have the lowest health to the amount of damage they deal in the game.
Yeah.
Besides, I guess, the mighty Gorgons in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's actually one of the powers of the mighty Gorgon as well, is they're not prioritized to attack, and those things kill.
In the
But it's Clue campaign actually hurts because you'll have 100 sharpshooters, and you want to split your sharpshooters when you play Glue. You want to have them on either side of the map in both corners. You have like 50 and 50, and then you like lose 50 of them. It just hurts.
So I've been playing around with editing the game.
Yeah.
So I doubled the power of Inferno. But I don't want to influence the campaign, so I'm not letting myself use it.
Yeah.
But when the AI casts, it's just like my army just... But yeah, anyways, so money sorts itself out, and so if it might work in real life too, to a sense where Spiff just uses money to just I'm gonna go all money all the time, sort myself out there, and but yeah, I don't know. I guess because the rewards are so good for exploration, here's my magic.
Yeah.
Like Age of Wonders, it's like Civilization. You can do both at the same time. You don't have to choose. But you do have to choose in Heroes. Well, you have to choose a little bit in Civilization, and you definitely have to choose in Heroes of Might and Magic. But you don't actually have.
In Age of Wonders 1, you do. Because you need mana nodes, and your cities do not produce mana, and you need gold mines, your cities do not produce enough gold.
So you have to be exploring more.
Yeah. And the magic items in number 1 make your character way stronger.
Well, the other thing about Age of Wonders is leveling up your creatures makes them so much stronger.
Yeah.
Like, those badges are huge.
Number 3 doesn't feel like that. Sorry, number 4 doesn't feel like that nearly as much. Like, number 4 feels way more Civ-like, way less based on it. Like, there definitely is a bonus for exploring, but
It's just a bit here and there.
it's a lot less important. They seem to move away.
What about, like, Warlock Master of the Arcane? Is it like that level, maybe?
It's like a weird mix between Warlock of the Arcane, Age of Wonders 3, and Civilization.
Huh.
I like the combat of number 3. It's my favorite combat of all the games. The combat actually, like, if you're good at the combat in number 3...
Tactics-wise, it's the best of, like, any game, I think.
If you're good at the...
Although I've heard Planetfall was meant to be better.
It wasn't. If you're good, like, there's just certain things. Like, number 3, the no missing, I love the no missing. Like, you will deal at least 1 damage. And you can use that, like, and also how you can exhaust enemies and that they don't have to exhaust us, but it's like, I will send these 3 goblins to die to attack this dragon, so it won't get to retaliate, and then my knights will charge in the flank. Like, I love that. It has my favorite combat, turn-based combat, I think, of almost any game. And especially, of all the Age of Wonders has my best turn-based combat. Like, my favorite. And in that, like, you have strategy. There's things you do. If you have the cannons, you line them up right. If you build like the right unit compositions, like there's a lot of strategy to that, or tactics, I guess. In number one, what you do is you make one hero excessively powerful and give them flying and wall climb, and you assassinate enemy heroes. And if you want to win fights, you have one excessively powerful hero and a bunch of fast units to support them so they don't get overwhelmed. Number two, I haven't played enough of, and it's really weird.
You listen to weird music while the oversaturated colors blind you.
Yeah,
and then gods ruin your day.
And the units' movements look weird, and the sound effects are weird, and...
You know, my biggest problem with number two is actually, it's the Rift Demon appearance.
Yeah.
I don't like them. They're like weird nega things.
They're weird bugmen.
Well, like the ones with like the blades on their hands.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... They're like
they're...
Kachin Kamel.
Yeah, no, they're... It's weird and it looks weird and I don't understand it, and the campaign is hard, and it's not like number one, which was very straightforward, and it's not like number three, which I actually understand because I've played it so much. And then number four is waves of death stacks, basically. Like, you want to death stack your best units, and early on you want waves of weaker units of certain types, and the combat... One of the things I really, really, really dislike about number four is the max amount of... So now you have like a ball of 4 units and ball of 4 units.
Yeah,
or
6.
6 units.
Yeah.
I think it's 8 units you have per ball in... Or it might be 6. Yeah, 6 per ball. In number 2 is 8 units per ball. But in number 4 you get 6 units per ball, and it's a maximum of 3v3.
Oh.
And I don't like that. Because it does add a certain amount of balance. But what I really like...
But you can't like surround with a massive army and...
Well, what was really cool in number 3 is you could, like I said, surround with a massive army. But if you... the preference was always given to the defender. And so if you had a ball of units, so you had each side covered, then in attack it would be 3 versus 5.
Right.
Or 3 versus 4, I think. And so you'd always have the advantage in the defense unless you were overwhelmed. Whereas in this, it's they've got 3 units in their city. I have overwhelming numbers, but it's going to be a 3x3 battle, and I won't be able to overwhelm them. My units are weaker. And so I just death stack the strongest unit I can.
Right.
And that's not interesting.
I can guess why they do it. Not saying I like it, but I had a fight in number 3. There was a revolution in my town. I was playing both sides, but there's a revolution in a sorcerer's town. No. Undead town, I think it was. So an undead town had a revolution, which means it spawns a unit every turn that will attack the defendants. There was like 7 armies of attackers attacking the town. So completely surrounded. So the most units possible on the map, plus a unit was spawning every round.
Yeah.
And then... the Necromancer Defender cast whatever it's called, Undying Army or whatever.
Yeah.
So every time something died, it came back as an undead in the fight, I think.
Yeah.
Or it summons an undead every turn. I can't remember how it works. And the Sorcerer Attacker cast Chaos Rift, which summons the unit every turn. And so my computer was just screaming. It was like
cast Disjunct.
I was playing like a slideshow. I was like, well, Disjunct I hate. It's just so lame. Yep. It's like... it's a game about spells and then you can just get rid of them? No, you gotta keep...
No. My biggest, like... Number 4 has so many cool things, but it has... You know, like, I want to level up to see the next level. I want to play with that ability. Yeah. And I want that thing. And that's definitely, like, part of the driving feature in number 3. I guess a little bit there. A little bit. Like, that's sort of like, ooh, what's this do? And what's this combination? Ooh, that's cool. Okay. But then there's a lot of staying power. Like, you get the undead's blade ladies. Right. And they're really cool, you know. They're really fun to use. You can basically build a whole battle strategy around them. And then you get your reapers and, like, you do your things and you have your tie grounds, whatever. Yeah. The game has its own staying power beyond the, ooh, this is cool in the moment. Or, ooh, this is level up. Number 4 seems to be, because No, the races don't matter. It's just an aesthetic choice of their appearance. And then you can pick all their like little sub things. And then you can pick your class. However, even those spell books can be mixed, and there's no locking one spell book for an hour. Like, if you play the game long enough, you can basically get every single spell book. And you get these weird blends of things. Basically, everyone's a green mushroom man who's an undead dragon who shoots lasers out their face, and nothing matters.
So it's the complaint people have about Skyrim compared to the previous games.
Yeah.
Where the previous games, you beat it as a rogue, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to go back and I'm going to play a star sword or spell sword or whatever. But this one, it's you do everything once and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the draw is, let's do this aesthetic combination, then let's see what the horns on this thing looks like and how this adds. And it's more of a like, next thing, next thing, next thing. It's trying to tap into the civilization one more turn.
You know what's...
But it doesn't... It manages the one more turn, but it's like this weird psychological one more turn that you don't feel good about. Like the civilization one more turn, even the Age of Wonders 3 one more turn, you feel good about those. Because something interesting is happening. You're not waiting for something to happen. Something interesting is happening.
Do you have any of the DLC for Age of Wonders 4?
Yes.
Okay. Because...
And it seems to be built for... I didn't get the second one because it gives less than the first DLC. And it's like more expensive. And I was just like, no, I will get this when Paradox puts on sale for $5.
Because I just had a suspicion, but maybe I'm wrong. When Age of Wonders 3 released, one of the main complaints was that the races felt too similar. And so in a free update, they changed all the races. So orcs now heal after combat.
Yeah.
The lizard people heal twice as much every turn.
One of my favorite mods for number 3 is Unique Racial Units by Gloweye. And it gave each thing an extra unique unit or two.
But what they did more than that though. What they did with this update was they made it so that just by being an orc, you now have Warcry.
Yeah, you had your own personality. Each thing actually had an identity.
So you're like, what would a berserker with Warcry do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and people loved it.
Yeah.
And so I almost wonder if they, because it's Paradox now. I wonder if Paradox went to Triumph and it's like, don't, keep some features out. You save those for later. You can't give the whole thing at once.
That's literally what the Dragon DLC was, actually. Like, it was a cheap DLC, but it's literally it should have released with the dragons, but they didn't. They made it a DLC. And
Paradox, they make great games, but they're just a bit of... I don't like their money model so much.
It's Age of Wonders 4... is too much civilization, too little Heroes of Might and Magic for me. If I was to not say number 3 is actually I think the perfect Age of Wonders game.
I agree so far. I haven't played 4, but
if there are some things literally you could take some of the concepts that they had from number 4 and just do number 3 again, change the appearance slightly, and then just add those things in. I would have loved number 4. But that is one of the things about Age of Wonders, is each game's actually different. I like that. And my self-consolence, my consolence on this, is the even-numbered Age of Wonder games aren't as good as the odd numbers. And so I'm looking forward to Age of Wonders 5.
Well, you know what my consolence is? Triumph has gone out of business before. No. I like Leonard Sass's games, and the people seem good. But I don't like the data collection. It sucks, man. Oh, this makes me sad.
No, but but I said, I look forward to number 5 because the odd games seem to be good.
Well, that's kind of what I said about Tears of the Kingdom, right? Where I was like, it feels like it's too much of it. It's actually very similar to what you're saying about Age of Wonders 4. It's like it's too much of everything at once. It's not enough of the mystery and discovery, but it's also kind of the same.
It has no staying power.
Yeah, it's the same as before.
But I will indie games. I will play indie games just to see everything in it, and that's why I feel like I'm doing with Age of Wonders 4, as I don't want to do that on a full grand strategy game. I want to enjoy this game. I want to love it. I don't want to be, what's this? What's this? What's this? Okay, I'm done with it. I'll never come back to it.
Yeah.
Age of Wonders 3 is this time around, I am going to go evil with the necromancers, and
there'll be Tigrans.
well, it'd be Tyrants, but also it's like a role-playing aspect even for me of I am not going to explore a magic site. I'm just going to attack cities with it and see how that turns out.
How would you compare Age of Wonders? But yeah, I'm very excited for the next Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah.
But and there's a lot of redeeming qualities about Tears of the Kingdom too. But I think it needs to be set in a new location for me to have that same enjoyment of discovery, because it's like I've kind of seen it all. Like it's different buildings, but yeah, I'm not sure. I have to think about it more. I came up with this list of stuff I'd improve about it that I think is quite good. But how would you compare Age of Wonders 4 to Warlock, the Fallen Lords, or whatever it's called, the Exiled, yeah. If you've played the second Warlock game.
I haven't played the second. I've played the first one.
It's almost the same. Yeah.
So, in terms of Age of Empires, I like Age of Empires better.
Age of Wonders.
Sorry, yeah, Age of Wonders. In terms of Age of Wonders, I like Age of Wonders better.
Meaning, like you just like the Age of Wonders series better in general?
Yes.
Right.
I like Age of Wonders more. However, in terms of... Okay, this statement's dumb and I'm going to explore it more, but I'm just going to say. If they're both Age of Wonders game, Age of Wonders 4 is a better Age of Wonders 4 game.
Okay.
If they're both Masters of the Arcane game, then Master of the Arcane is better. But Age of Wonders 3 is a better Masters of the Arcade game than Master of the Arcade.
So you're just saying Warlock sucks?
No. Number 4 goes more into grand strategy than I'd like. It's trying too hard to be like Civilization.
Right, and that's why I chose Warlock, because Warlock is like Civ.
Yes, and it doesn't hit the right points, because if you want to do a fantasy Civ game, you have to...
You have to be Warlock.
Yeah, you actually have to be Warlock, because Warlock Master Arcane, when you go into a battle, like your units fight, you can click on abilities, you shoot bolts at each other, but you don't enter a battlefield afterwards, and then you do the tactical fight on the battlefield.
If you shoot a fireball at someone, then the map actually burns in that area, and and you can like flood the map and then to drown your opponents.
And that's the thing. I like when one of the things that turned me off Planetfall is it felt like it was slowly shifting towards that, and then this is like the even further step from Planetfall is the even more turning into Civilizations, but they're still trying to keep the roots of, well, there's a tactical map and a tactical battle, but literally, like in number 3, I play basically every single battle unless it's there's 3 goblins standing on this stash, and I have 4 bone dragons.
Well, sometimes that's fun. Just
even sometimes that's fun. Yeah, you're right. Even so, that's fun. In number 4, I click auto resolve for everything but basically the penultimate battle of I'm about to kill an enemy, or I am better at the tactical battler than the computer is. Or sometimes because it gives you the option, you can click the auto battle, and it's like, okay, why on earth is my gold dragon dead? It shouldn't have died this fight. I'm going to have to play it myself.
So could you say it's more like Heroes of Might and Magic? Because I don't know about you, but Heroes of Might and Magic, I like auto resolve anything that I don't lose any units. It's like, oh, I didn't lose units? Keep it.
It's like Heroes of Might and Magic in that way.
Except if I fight an enemy hero, because then I want to let us fight with spells.
Yeah, it's kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic in that way, but it has all the weaknesses that Age of Wonders has compared to Heroes of Might and Magic still. So it doesn't have any of the advantages of Heroes of Might and Magic.
Like just the sort of...
Like Heroes of Might and Magic...
The magic of discovery.
The tactics isn't as important in Might and Magic. The tactics in Might and Magic is the armies you build, how you explore, your choices along the way. Whereas Age of Wonders really, for me, should be... You can have a scrappy group of bandits slay a god.
Yeah, if you're careful and...
Yeah, and you have a wizard backing them up. Whereas number 4, it's like... smash forces together. Yeah.
Number 3...
And you don't get the feeling, like I said, you can't describe it battles, but also, number 4, I have a tier 6 unit. And I want this thing to go and one-shot an enemy.
There's 6 tiers now?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I want my tier 6 unit to go one-shot an enemy. And it doesn't. And I was like, what's the point of this then? Like, it's a big sponge on battle. It's good. It's a good unit, but it does, like, the units that feel like you actually can't. You can get dragons, but they're weak. But like, my favorite unit in the game is the Dragon DLC. You can have a champion, a wizard, or a dragon as your leader.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite unit of the game is the dragon, because it feels like a dragon from number 3. The other dragons you get, they feel like wyverns. So you get to feel like you have the dragon again. And your wizard in number 4 feels like how the wizard should feel. But in number 3, if you have a wizard and it's fighting the Eldritch Abomination, what is that thing called?
The Eldritch Abomination.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your wizard's fighting the Eldritch Abomination.
Yeah.
That is I am like, these two will duel it out. My wizard will win. He'll have his health left over.
Just get stun locked.
Yeah, or it's like he might die. In number 4, it's like, okay, yeah, there's that tier 6, but my wizard is, when he's at the level where he could fight it, he's at the level where he'll just win, and it's like, yeah, I just won.
Because that second part's a bit weird, but
there's just like too many little things that aren't good enough. That's the problem with number 4 for me. There's just like, the game should be good, but there's just too many things with it.
Because number 3, one of the main criticisms is that the tier 4s are too much stronger than everything else.
Yeah.
Because
maybe there's only tier 5. Sorry, I think there's only up to tier 5, not tier 6. But yeah.
But in number 3, it goes to tier 4. But yeah. But the tier 4s, and then there's the Eldritch, which is sort of like 4.5. But
yeah.
And I guess the Horn Gods are pretty good too, but they're technically still tier 4.
And the Poseidon Gods.
Yeah. Well, those are just tier 4.
Yeah.
But the issue people had with number 3 was that you just build a stack of like a bunch of tier 4s and then they just go around.
Yeah, you build a stack of those holy shrines.
Yeah, or a bunch of
That's actually kind of why I love the rogues, is you didn't get a tier 4.
Bunch of juggernauts. Or, well,
that's what I kind of loved about the rogues, is you didn't get tier 4.
I mean, you kind of do. Like, Shadow Stalkers are basically tier 4.
But the Shadow Stalkers play the game so different than all the others.
Like, an invisible unit, like, it could be tier 1 and it's terrifying.
Also, it's freezing strike. Oh.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about Age of Wonders is the utility of units, right? It's like, you can... An invisible unit means it can sit by your castle until you leave and then just take it from you.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? So, someone... And it might be that I'm not nuanced enough to do this in number 4. But someone goes, you just build a doom stack of as many high tiers as you can.
Yeah.
So you do that against me in number 3. And let's say I'm playing the rogues, and I'm not going to even make Shadow Stalkers. Okay?
No.
I'm not going to make Shadow Stalkers. And you've done this to people, and they made mods because of this. But, so someone's like, alright, I got my doom stack, it's really expensive. I've got my, there is actually a slightly anti-doom stack mechanic in number 4, but that's besides the point. So I got my doom stack, I got my 6 juggernauts. And they leave the city. My raven flies in, takes your city.
Yeah,
then,
burns it to the...
Yeah, and then flies away cackling.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I've got to leave... Like, I've got to build up army, I've got to leave armies in here, and then I have my doom stack. And while you're doing that, I'm picking up every single mine in the game, and my heroes are, like, my small armies that are built fast are running about and taking over the whole map. And then you're like, alright, I've got my core 5 cities, I'm feeling pretty strong, and you start taking my cities, because your armies are stronger than me. And whenever you take one of my cities... I take it back right afterwards, and your army is marching around. It's sort of like Hannibal versus Caesar.
Yeah. Or it's like guerrilla tactics, where you just sort of chip away
So
at
you
them.
have this resource, which is called Imperium or something, or Purius in number 4.
I mean, number 3 literally has the technology Partisan,
Yeah.
which means you don't lose if you retreat.
Yeah. So there's so the highest tier units and the second highest tier units, they cost this unique resource that you have, and it's really important. Like, you can spend it on things that builds up over time, and basically if you run out of it, you're screwed. And so the highest tier units cost this extra resource, and having less of it's bad. So if you have like an army of war breeds, which take about 3 of it per turn, then your empire is just going to be weaker because you're trying to fund an army of war breeds. So it's sort of trying to stop that death.
Are they the strongest warlord now, or?
No, they're... a part of the something or other book, and they're a really strong unit in it. Because there's a bunch of different books, and that's the thing. You can just select books. Yeah. I would like it so your I want the amount of choices they give you, but I want there to be paths that once you've chosen a path, you cannot deviate from it.
So like in number 1 where you choose like the elements and you sort of,
Yeah.
you're like, I want 3 fire and 3 water. And,
Yeah.
well, except you can't do that. But yeah, that's sort of the idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
want
like
3 life and 3 water.
This is the path that's chosen, and I am playing goblins.
So you choose your research tree ahead of time. And then,
And I am playing goblins. You sort of choose it beforehand, but it's like doesn't really have that much of an impact. And it's better to go down one tree.
Yeah.
And there's advantages for doing it. There's definitely advantages, but like I said, end game and the games go on so long that you're going to have everything. Like you might. It's more what will I not have instead of what will I have. That's what number 4 feels. That sums up perfectly. What will I not have instead of what will I have?
So if the games were shorter, would that fix it, do you think?
That would help. I have played shorter games, and that helps a little bit. But I still know in the back of my head that I'm not limited. And also the thing, like this really, I do not like it, is I'm playing goblins. And it just means I have goblins.
Right.
And like you have cultures and those slightly influenced. So I've chosen the dark culture. But then I have dark culture flavored goblins. I want the goblins to matter. And you can choose like, oh, well, I'll have them beat hordlings. And I'll have it so they deal poison attacks. But I could play elves and have my elves beat hordlings and have poison attacks. And sure, that's fun in some sense. I would rather have that as, no, the elves don't do that. And there's certain things that elves get that no one else gets. And that being elves actually matters. Like,
you know what I saw? There's this game called Ouroboros chess, where it's a roguelike chess game, where you build up your army over time throughout the game. And you can have like a glass queen. So if she loses in any combat, she's gone for all the combats.
Yeah.
And you can have like catapults and dragons and all sorts of fancy units. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. And I was watching the battles. I thought, no, this doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because your opponent is also always like, okay, I've got a barbarian and a catapult and like a wizard. Yeah. Having crazy chess pieces is only fun if your opponent has a normal chess army.
Yeah, actually, that's the other thing. That should be like, okay, you can have this craziness. Actually, this you fix number 4. You fix number 4. Okay, you can have all these crazy things, and certain enemies do go down archetypes. And they have their past. Like, there's these vampire halflings that are always going to be slightly evil and slightly vampires, and they have their personality. But they still have too many options. You have to literally... The halflings are halflings, and maybe there'll be, like, one exception in every single thing, but it's like... It has to actually be...
It has to be wacky in the universe, not just to the person playing.
Yeah.
You have to be like, this time...
I am going to be... And I still want there to the dwarves to matter. Like you can have all this extra stuff, but dwarves are stout and their shield units are better.
What they could do, right?
Like I want that dwarves are stout and their shields are better. Like
what they could do is they could add a bunch. I don't know how it works, but let's say they add a bunch of books, right?
Yeah.
And you don't call them the Book of the Dwarfs, but it's the Book of the Dwarves. Yeah. Call it the Stoneborn book and the Hordling book, like the goblins, right?
Yeah.
And what you do is you say, goblins get this for half price.
Yeah.
Dwarves get this for half price.
I would be happy with that too. I would like that. That would be another.
And then
cool
also,
option.
From what you're saying about
humans get the theocrat books better.
You can spread out like way too far. Yeah. What they could do is say, all right, you have your path, but then anti-synergistic. So if you choose life, death costs twice as much. Something. Yeah. I don't know if they already do that, but
they don't.
So, but you could say like if you choose life, death costs twice as much. If you choose this thing.
No, anti-synergy would be good as well. I want the game to be more limited.
What kind of What kind of worries me here, I guess, not worries, it's a shame almost. Age of Wonders was a pretty good game. The DLC made it amazing.
Yeah.
Like the wild, I still haven't touched wild magic in Age of Wonders really. Like it's crazy the stuff you can do.
Partisan magic and wild magic. I always build those.
And neutral, the neutral skill.
Yeah.
Weird and crazy. Like you can do really weird stuff with it. And
I played so much with those.
And neutral is so hard to use.
Yeah.
But it's got some crazy powers.
The neutral angel is so strong.
Yeah, like I've seen it like once, right? I've never seen the Arumfian boar still, because you have to get a wild god to gold, and I mean, it shouldn't be that hard because nothing's going to kill the wild god. But on the other hand, it's just by the time you summon a wild god, the game's over. So there's stuff I haven't seen in the game, stuff I haven't tried, because I remember back when I first tried Wild Magic, you use Wild Swap, suddenly you have your negas over the walls, and you've killed everyone, because negas, there's so limited mobility, but you just do the Wild Swap, which puts your unit in risk, but you just, it's over the walls, and now it blew everyone's minds. So the DLC was amazing, but the problem with them working for Paradox is Paradox doesn't do amazing DLC. Because Triumph does expansions. They go, we're going to double the content of the game at every layer.
Yeah.
Whereas Paradox is like, we'll just trickle in a bit. And we'll build this unholy mess that will topple over because the systems weren't made to work with each other, and it gets too tall.
Oopsie, okay, we'll fix it, and it's a little bit better now.
And that said, I've been playing Europa Universalis recently, and they have actually gone back and kind of factored everything down a bit so that it actually works a bit better altogether.
They integrated a bunch of DLCs into the base game as well.
The estates especially, they actually made work. Estates are actually interesting now.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think they could ever do. But because the estates were the Age of Wonders 2 gods of Europa. It's like, give me land or I'll revolt. Why? Why did I pay money so that you would be mean? Yeah. And then the Chinese court, I don't know if it was always like this, but now you can actually become like the Chinese emperor, and then if you have the Mandate of Heaven, you get +5 stability, which stability, it goes to 3 normally. You get +5 stability if you have the Mandate of Heaven. If you lose the Mandate of Heaven, you get -5 stability. There's no in between. It's just like your country is prosperous or it's doomed, which is quite fun. But Paradox just it works for Europa Universalis and Hearts of Iron in a way because they're these games that it's like, okay, we can't give every single possible country that might emerge throughout 3,000 years of history a tech tree, but maybe we'll add a DLC that gives it to 10 of them, and that kind of works for them. But for a company like Triumph, where they make these contained skirmish games, basically, it's like you play a map, then you play a map, then you play a map.
Yeah. Here's another big thing for me. Age of Wonders is a story. Each game is a story. So number 1, men were banished from the garden.
Yeah.
And it's a story. There's a story there.
In the first days of the world,
number
all living
2
things were
is
ruled by the Elven court.
the humans are basically no longer cavemen.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't cavemen before, but they're no longer cavemen, and they're crazy religious zealots. Sorry, this is shadow magic. Okay, I'm skipping number 2. Shadow magic.
Well, number 2 is Merlin is learning every school of magic and becoming the greatest wizard ever. He's becoming the new wizard king. Yeah,
Merlin's becoming wizard king. Number 2.5, shadow magic, is the humans. Magic is destroying the world, and so the human theocrats are trying to burn away all magic creatures. So elves are demons, goblins are demons. They're trying to kill it all. Number 3 is basically the world is reunited. The elves' families have come back together, and there's new threats. The Tigrans have returned. It's exploration of this new world. The councils are being reformed. All this is happening. It's a really cool story, and just like the feeling of the world, like the orcs are these sort of like barbarians, but you can have them be noble. So you can have them be.
I believe in the campaign he's a theocrat. The first orc you meet.
Yeah, like I understand, but like they're the orc species versus the culture they choose.
Yeah,
and so you got this feeling. And then number 4, it has a campaign. I think I haven't played it, but like the feeling from playing a random scourge, like the story of this world is the wizard kings have come back. And there's a reason why they were bashed in the first place, is because they're destroying the world. And they're destroying the world, and it's chaos, and nothing makes sense, and there's no solid story, and it's a mess, and it's not self-contained anymore, and it feels like you're playing a Europa Universalis map, and you've randomly generated the old world, the new world, then you go over to the new world, and you randomly generate the old world, and then you play on this completely random map that has no basis or footwork. And there's like a few heroes like, oh yeah, I recognize her. Oh, I recognize the thing. Like, you have the Dragon Queen who's enslaved the orcs. And so recognizing her, that's kind of cool. But it's like saying, oh yeah, I have Napoleon in this completely random world that doesn't have France.
Right, because what's an orc anymore even? It's like, who cares that the orcs were enslaved? It could be the hobbits that were enslaved or the elves. Because, like...
Well, there's no identity.
It's really weird that they did that, especially with the elves, given that the first game was based around the fact that the elves' culture was split based upon their leaders' different values.
Yeah, it's like elves are so magical and so cool that the ideologies of their species has an effect on the world, and the dark elves' spite makes them literally wither into shadow people who are now these assassins, and the high elves like ideology makes it so, sorry, not high elves, the wood elves ideology makes it so that their love of life and nature, the trees come to life and work for them.
Yeah, and then when they work together, they turn like the masters of the skies and like lightning and
they integrate the cult of the storm with the cult of life, and so you have these life-giving storm wizards who are no longer controlled by the shadows.
And that's even though number 3 is all about you can be storm wizards that have cannons, you can be storm wizards that worship God, you can be storm wizards that are daggery thief people.
Yeah.
And you can
like number 4 feels like the connections are like remember berries and references, and the idea of Age of Wonders is there, but the story isn't, and the story is really important for Age of Wonders.
I think, or not maybe the theme, like the sort of
the identity.
I think people mean different things when they say story, so it's always a bit tricky.
Yeah, the identity then.
Yeah,
like the background, the backstory.
It's not the words you read on the page so much. It's the lore.
Yeah, the lore. Yeah, no, the lore, exactly. And that's the one thing. No, the units have, because they're so random, and you can give like your halflings horns and make them demons. Nothing has lore blurbs.
That's one of the saddest and neatest things I love about the undead halflings in Age of Wonders 3 is the memories of joy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is an undead unit that has positive morale.
Yeah, but not the lore blurbs are such identity of the game, even if it's like this completely random thing, that it is the identity that these things exist in the world. Sure, they're completely ripped off from D&D, but they exist in the world, they have their backstory, and it's not there in number 4, and that makes me really sad. Like, they brought back the Kerag, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like the Kerag of old, that's fine. But it's like, okay, so I've got this sort of hairy monster with this giant mouth, it can gobble things up whole, it has the scream ability that stuns things, and it's really fast, and I can find it in caves, and it's this incredibly powerful unit. If you haven't played the games, what on earth is this thing? Yeah. You haven't played number 2, you haven't played number 1, what on earth is this thing? But they gave this lore blur. It's like, the goblins, like, let's progress it. So it wasn't in number 3. So it's not in the Land of Wonders. So it was basically, it got forced out of the Land of Wonders. So it's, number 4 lore blurb could be, thought to be long extinct, coming from the deepest burrows beneath the earth, the Kerag runs again back through the corridors, screaming and eating everything in its path. The goblins have lost the way to control this, and so they can no longer like produce them. And it's actually developed a taste for goblin flesh above all others. And you could have like this whole like new story with the Kerag has come back with a vengeance, and the goblins that once enslaved it are now its favorite treat. And you could even like give it ability of it deals bonus damage to goblins.
You know what your complaint sounds like? It's like Age of Wonders 4 is Age of Wonders for globalists.
It is!
Like, it's cosmopolitan. There's no culture. It's all just...
It's for the Dino, as the British would call it. And that's why it's so popular, and that's why it's selling so well.
But what I mean by globalist is it's like, there's no culture. It's just everyone's this hodgepodge mix where nobody actually believes anything. They're all individuals. Yeah. This stratified individuals. And so, like, one city is this... New York is the same as London, is the same as Paris. It's not French, American, and English. It's just city culture. And that's kind of what this game has become, because it's too much chaos, not enough order.
Yeah.
Because chaos is freedom, and freedom's good. So
there's a small amount of order, and the only order that exists in the game is the starting culture you choose. So there's noble, dark, wizards, technocrat, and they're adding like a gun thing now. And those are absolutes. You cannot change them. And barbarians. If you choose those from the start, that's what you're stuck with. That's what your base unit types are. That's how your city's bonus are based on. That's like the only real choice in the game is those cultures, and those cultures are not related to, like, they're barely related to the previous games as well. Like, the wizards are a little related to the sorcerers. The barbarians are a little related to the warlords. The dark is a little related to the necromancer. The sort of like shield guys a little bit related to the other shield guys. The knights are a little bit related to the theocrat and the warlord a bit, and then the new people coming along with guns, which is the DLC I haven't bought, are also going to be related to the shooty. Also, the dark is related to the rogue a little bit.
So it's like too much freedom, too much choice, because freedom is chaos, and so it's actually, I think a lot of people, their complaint with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was it's not structured enough. And I love the freedom of Breath of the Wild, but I do see that
But Breath of the Wild has the identity as well, at least.
Where there's I don't know if I've said it before, but I think choice is not freedom, and choice is not a good thing. It's a necessary evil to fight against corruption.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this before, people don't like choice, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this big push for open world games because I just want to be able to go there and do anything. And it's like, okay, well, you could have already done that just by closing your eyes and imagining something.
Yeah.
You wanted rules that push back against you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's no if you can do anything, you can do nothing. It's like it's like the same thing for some reason. But yeah, I'm sure Roger Penrose would hate me if I said this, but his idea that maximum entropy is the same as no entropy at all. If you have maximum chaos, it's perfect order. So you have this, because everywhere is chaos, so it's quite easy to. But it's like everything is nothing, and so you need something to have. If you want to have choice, you need restrictions.
Yeah. And
Matthew Matosa said it about Breath of the Wild, where with his he loved the game, but he said the hang glider was the biggest problem because people don't want to glide or fast travel everywhere. They want to cut down a tree and walk over a chasm.
Yeah.
They want to like knock a tree across a gap and walk across a chasm.
Yeah.
And that is I do wonder if that's my problem with Tears of the Kingdom in part, is that... So I have an idea about this, actually. They gave you infinite freedom to solve problems, basically, right?
Yeah.
Which means you will very quickly find your solution.
Yeah.
And your solution, it'll typically be something like a hovercraft or an airplane.
Yeah.
To any problem.
Yes.
Or maybe a rocket shield, once you learn that. Because there is a most efficient way to do things. And so if you explore and just see what you can do every time. This is what I did in Breath of the Wild. Every fight was different. I was like, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? In Tears of the Kingdom, the fights actually are still the same for me. I just love exploring. But traveling now has felt like a chore, probably because I'm not discovering as much. So I'm just trying to get from point A to point B as fast as possible, in some sense. So so all I'm doing is, okay, what's the fastest way? Airplane. Yeah. Get an airplane, boom. Because I'm not like, okay, I'm going to make a car that powers itself with springs, or I actually sort of invented one thing. You know those blocks that just hover?
Yeah.
Like not the ones that not the movable rod ones, but the ones that like they kind of float.
Yep.
If you attach a spring to them, this isn't how physics works, but for some reason it works, and you release and compress the spring, it actually like moves it, and so you can have an infinite flying machine doing that. Yeah. And that is an actual infinite flying machine that doesn't expire, unlike the gliders and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but it costs like 1 million zonite to build one of the floating platforms on the spot. It's like 90 zonite for a floating platform or something. So you're not going to do that. You're going to build a hovercraft. You're going to build a airplane. And so if they instead... I think to fix Tears of the Kingdom, what they could have done possibly is said you have 10 inventory slots. Or maybe you have a cap of 10 of each item. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
So you actually constantly run out of items.
Yeah.
And then you have to improvise. Because the thing is, I saw one review where the guy said, if you play this game without ever opening your inventory, and not like using the quick inventory thing, you'll notice that the tools to solve every problem are in the world. It was very well designed in that way. And some of the things are completely like weird, and you have to build a bridge between 2 floating islands and then stick a spring on the middle and do some weird, interesting, like you put a glider on it. It's very cool, but it's always more efficient to open your inventory and
put down 2 fans and a joystick,
make a hovercraft, and just skip everything. And he said, so the freedom of the inventory is kind of what is. And now you can say that's a player problem, right? Because you can say, well, then you just restrict yourself. Yeah. But it's hard to know what you should do, because they gave me an inventory full of stuff, right? Now, if they had like...
They could have done the building mechanic and
They could have had like creative mode or something.
Well, no, they could have had the building mechanics all the same. However, you actually can't store any of those things in your inventory. And instead, whenever you go to like there's deposits around the world, so you can build yourself a car. And so this is a spot where you go and build yourself a car. But there's a few other things there, so you can build like a car with a few more things. And if you're willing to, you can drive that car to a location with more building stuff attached to it. But with the puzzle solving, there's the obvious solution, but then they just throw in some stuff. So they come up with their own solution. And then they give you more things so you can try it out, and maybe you will come up with a solution as well.
But and then you don't have an inventory, you mean? Or
yeah. You can't store zonite devices.
But the problem, and like that seems like it would work, but then the problem is that, like, I don't know if in the beginning I was having a great time. Actually, the start of, after I got I never really got past the bad translation, but when I got mostly past it, I was having an amazing time building wagons and just like trying to make wagons into a device that could, like, into a car.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have like rockets and I didn't have fans, and I was trying to make a wagon into a car with like the weirdest strategies. Like I was like, okay, I put the wagon on a hill, I put a glider on it, and now I can steer it by stepping on the wings of the glider. Yeah. But then they give you a steering stick, and suddenly that interesting thing's gone. Because now I use a steering stick every time for the wagon. And you can have a powered wheels. I don't need to put a fan on a wagon even. Yeah. I can just attach powered wheels to it, or I can attach those like skate wheels to it. So, but the other aspect there is it's very fiddly to build it each time.
Yeah.
So that save and load feature is nice. But okay, what if the save and load power?
Yeah.
It's bound to those hexagonal pads and the Bolson or whatever building pads. So you go to that site and you get your power back, and then you can just build your stored vehicle.
Yeah.
But if you're wandering in the wilderness, you can't just whip out an airplane at any point. Yeah. That could work maybe. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, I'm already excited thinking about that, right? And like I'm thinking about doing a playthrough where I limit my inventory to like 10 inventory slots or 10 of each item, and I'm only allowed to switch clothing. This is a problem with the Breath of the Wild 2. If your clothing can completely nullify a problem like rain or lightning or heat, and you can switch at any time, that is an upgrade you should give to the player. You should just make them immune to fire, make them immune to water. But because that wouldn't be interesting, because it's not just to make them immune, what instead you should do is they have to have, like, they're only allowed 5 suits of clothing, or they can only switch clothing when they're at a bed or something.
My constant problem with a lot of video games that has clothing that you can switch out of is, this thing gives me like +5 to attack, but I really like the like chain bikini. So my character's worse, and that's the same actually in Breath of the Wild. That is the case of, man, I am freezing, but I really hate the look of the like the cold resistant clothing, and I really like the sneaky clothing of the village, like the ninja clothing, and it's not upgraded as it could be. And so when I go and get upgrades, like, well, I could upgrade like the fierce deity armor, which would give me a lot more attacks, but I mean, it looks okay. I actually really like that. It looks okay, so that
no, I think
I'm just going to upgrade the sneaky spandex clothing. And it's not going to work in every situation, but that's why I'm wearing the game, because I like its looks.
I think the cold clothing is actually my favorite looking clothing in the game.
It looks nice. I do like. I'm just like, this is a hypothetical.
It's like Peruvian winter gear.
Yeah.
It's like this neat Inca bird mixture.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
But that's like that's how I play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I have to wear optimal clothing because I want to look fashionable.
Okay, so going back, these things I'm talking about are actually tiny tweaks in terms of effort, right? A master mode could add all those.
Yeah.
Or it could just add regenerating health and giant health pools again, but which sucked. But if a master mode was like limited inventory, limited food, like just sort of, or some other genius thing they think of, right? Like it would take like even
give this man a line to Miyamoto, and then just may speak to him. What? I just can't understand you. I think he actually does speak English.
Yeah, but he's not working on the game anymore. It's the white-haired dude.
Oh, okay.
They got Game of the Year. Tears of the Kingdom got Game of the Year.
Yeah.
which I thought was, I don't know. I think Baldur's Gate should have got it probably. I haven't played Baldur's Gate at all, but I think Baldur's Gate probably should have got it.
So I've been playing Rogue Trader by Owlcat.
So Owlcat, right? They make games faster than I can play them. They make like award-winning games faster than I can play them. Right?
So it's writing. I hate to say this because I love Larian and I love Baldur's Gate setting. Rogue Trader has like some of the best RPG writing I've ever played in a game because they don't have voice acting. You know, I've talked about how I hate reading.
Yeah.
I have to read Owlcat and I like it and it's annoying me.
Have you?
And
You've played Planescape Torment, right?
no.
No. Okay. Because that's the one that everyone's like, this is the writing. This is the.
Well, seriously, I've tried to play Pathfinder the first game, and like I just didn't understand it all that much by Owlcat. But like Rogue Trader, I understand how Warhammer works. I think a little better than Pathfinder. Like, this is a chainsword. The chainsword will work. This is a bolter. The bolter will work. This is a flamethrower. This is a sister of battle. I know what sisters of battle are.
Planescape Torment's the one about the immortal dude that can like take out his body parts and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
But it's like its writing is so. I really like the story. It's really interesting. And my biggest gripe with it is I'm trying to be a heretic. I'm trying to fall to chaos. But all his options that make you fall to chaos is muahahaha, I'm evil. And I want the fall to chaos to be, oh, well, I could do this, or I could say, hey, Slanesh, help me out here. And Slanesh like, all right, I'll help you out, but I'll come with a price there, buddy. I want that to be my fall to chaos. And so I'm doing some heretical things, and I'm doing some iconoclast things. But I want my fall.
Does it match Larian's adaptive storytelling, though? Like,
no.
because Larian, you can do anything and it works.
It doesn't match that.
Okay.
Larian's adaptive storytelling does limit what they can write. And I think the biggest weakness of both Divinity 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 is they have acts. And the acts have this is cut and clear. You do this act, then you do this act, then you do this act. Neither of the twains shall meet.
Right.
And losing the meeting of the twains and having your level 1 person
accidentally kill Baracus Rex.
having your level 1 person end up in the lair of the Void Dragon because you were...
Well, what happened with us, right, was Baracus Rex is meant to be the big boss, like the final bad guy's second in command, right?
No, Baracus Rex isn't meant to be the bad guy's second in command. Baracus Rex is meant to be the Orochi in Okami, of you beat Orochi and then you find out you haven't beaten the game. That's what Baracus Rex is meant to be.
But we beat Baracus Rex on the way back from trying to turn in the first quest in the game.
Yes.
And we were just like, oh, it's an elite. Okay, we'll take him out. Then we kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is... No, what we thought Baracus Rex was, we thought he was the optional, interesting side boss of you go into this tomb. It's like, oh, there's Baracus Rex here. This is a kind of cool tomb to fight in and like beat Baracus Rex up in, and then we like moved on. We were
Wait, he was the ghost dude? I thought he was the fire dude.
No, he's the giant skeleton.
Oh, I thought he was the fire dude.
No, he's the giant flame skeleton. That was Baracus Rex.
But, like the place that looked like Here's My Magic's like lava place. That wasn't him.
No.
The lava golem thing wasn't him.
No, that wasn't him. He was the side boss that we went into the tomb and
with all the skeleton people?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was the side quest. He's like this optional dungeon which you could get like some experience items.
No, we were trying to get around like on top of a cliff, I think, and we were like, okay, we'll just go around this way.
Yeah, we would go around this way and like, oh, here's an interesting door, and it's like, oh, there's a dungeon here. This is a little side dungeon. Like, I thought it was an extra dungeon.
Yeah. Huh. And then, yeah, the ability
like it was literally only into the second game that I realized he was a big deal.
Yeah, the acts prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
But they also prevent that from happening.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's...
Not to be fair to Divinity 2, at least. Mm-hmm. Like, Act 2 is massive. Like,
here's the other major flaw with... This is for me. And other people disagree with me on this. No, you might agree with me on this. But Divinity 1, as I said, is an amazing multiplayer game. And it has a multiplayer story. I feel like Larian got too invested in their own characters and their own story.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Like, it really, like...
The Red Prince and whatnot takes center screen a bit more.
Like, that's moved away slightly, thankfully, in Baldur's Gate 3, but it's still there. And, like, yeah, Minsk is fun. Everyone remembers Minsk. but I'm the damn ward of Gorion, and you will pay attention to me.
That was actually my biggest disappointment.
And also, that's the other... I don't like that you can play as the Red Prince. I do not like that you can play as the vampire from Baldur's Gate 3. Like, it's interesting. Ooh, I can play as him instead and get more of his story and be more of a character, and I can roleplay as him. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, that was...
Because that takes resources away from writing. That's literally... It takes the writing resources away. You focus more on that story. Your character's story doesn't matter as much because that story exists and they have to write that story and he has to be playable.
Plus, if you want to be your own character, you're missing out now.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get where they put their effort.
Yes.
And yeah, like, the moment we fired up Divinity 2 and I saw that, do you want to play as this character or this character?
Yeah.
It wasn't too much, but my heart just sunk a little. I was like,
yeah.
Eh. Like, Divinity 2, I wrote my list of top 10 favorite games of all time. Yeah. It's on that list.
Yeah.
But it's below Divinity 1.
Yes.
The fact that both games are on the list says something.
And Divinity 2 sold way better than Divinity 1.
Yeah, I hate that, you know? Like,
well, here's the thing, right?
Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is the more popular one, Age of Wonders 4 is the more popular one.
Here's the thing, though. Because the reason why I'm reading the Bible right now...
Tears of the Kingdom's the more popular one?
The reason why I'm reading the Bible right now...
The New Testament's more popular than the Old Testament?
Is... I read Harry Potter and realized that everyone's an idiot who's read Harry Potter and have no idea what they read. Not you. You're...
I'm the one non-idiot.
But we have different perspectives on some things in it.
Yeah.
But you actually get Harry Potter, I think.
I think I do.
Yeah. Like you've read.
Harry gets me. You get me, Harry. Harry gets me. I get him. We're in love.
The Potterheads or whatever, the Pottermores, and I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, and this is my house, and I wear this scarf, and all that stuff. You didn't read the book. Like, maybe you did, but no, you didn't read the book. It was you were in molasses when you read it. You don't understand anything that happened in this story or anything that's going on. It's a wizard boy who went to a magic school, and that's what you think the story is. That is not what Harry Potter is. It is not about going to a magic school. That is the background of the story. That is the thing where his friends are. This magic school.
But I don't want to dismiss the magic, though, because it's very magical.
No, the magic also, her magic's amazing. But I'm saying this, the magic school. The magic's important. It's very important. And they're learning magic there, that's important too. But, like, so many people, it's a magic school. That's what Harry Potter is to them.
I want to go to Hogwarts, sort of thing, I guess, yeah. I mean, Well, it's funny, though, because I wanted to go to Hogwarts, but I wonder why.
It's because it's so magical.
Part of it, but it was like, did I want to meet Harry? That might have been part of it. Like, because it's friends, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I say internet friends don't work, but then here I am like, I'm friends with Harry. I don't know. Okay, so you're reading the Bible so you can understand Harry Potter better.
No. So why I'm reading the Bible
You're like working yourself up to a better book.
No. I realized that
Start shallow, go deep.
Interpreted Harry Potter different than what so many people's perspective of, and Harry Potter was really well written and has this really interesting story, and it was so different than the movies and so different from what people have told me, like actually fully comprehending it now, because I've gone sort of through the books but didn't quite understand them, so fully going through it and understanding it and getting the depths of it and getting meaning from it that J.K. Rowling didn't put into it. Her work is so good that there are things in there she didn't put in that exist within it.
So you want your interpretation of the Bible, not someone else's told to you.
Yeah. And I'm going to have the arrogance of this right now. Not with Bible, but I feel like I read Harry Potter well, and I feel like a lot of people have read Harry Potter wrong. I'm just going to say that. Or maybe they had it read to them, and when they were a kid, they didn't understand as much, but like, people don't get Harry Potter.
I think the fact that they like it means that something spoke to them.
Yeah, something did speak to them, but...
And I think that speaking to them is getting it on some level.
Yeah, they're getting it on some level, but...
But when it's the talking about it, I think... Like, I think they got it, but when they talk about it, they don't get what they're saying. They don't know how to talk about it, maybe.
But it's also what you
They don't know how to talk about it to others.
Yeah, the globalized sort of appreciation for, like, appealing to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Arian...
My idea was more that the game itself was globalized, like inside the game.
Larian, they're really good writers, actually. They are really good programmers, despite the amount of bugs. Like, they're good at making games. They're really good at making games. And so Baldur's Gate 3 is a good game. It is a good game. And Divinity 2 is a good game. I would like more Divinity 1. I would like...
Well, luckily it has a very in-depth, built-in campaign editor.
Yeah, I would like...
No one has ever touched.
I would like Divinity, like, 2 to be more like Divinity 1. And that's the same thing. I'd like Age of Wonders 3 to be more like Age of Wonders... Sorry, Age of Wonders 4 to be more like Age of Wonders 3. Now, my wish for these things to be like that, this definitely comes down partly to my own personal preference, and they wouldn't have sold as well. I think they would be better games.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have sold as well.
Because they would have alienated more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because what makes me sad is, like, even Divinity 1 to Divinity 2, like, everyone played Divinity 2. Divinity was my niche.
Yeah.
I loved Divinity. It was my game. The sort of gatekeeper wanting it. Divinity...
That's kind of the miracle of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's like broad appeal.
Yeah.
But like, it has bite.
Same with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But like, Divinity was my game. And then Divinity 2 came out. Everyone was playing Divinity 2. People beat Divinity 2 before me. And then with Baldur's Gate, even like, Baldur's Gate was a popular game. Baldur's Gate 2 is a popular game. And it's like, this is Baldur's Gate 3. And someone got really mad. I told you about it. They got mad at me because I was like talking about these things like, oh, this is like all this stuff from the other Baldur's Gate games. And I'm like, I haven't played those games. No one has, like, they didn't say it like this, but it's basically what they're saying. I haven't played those games. No one's played those games. Stop spoiling the game for me. And it's like, no, the entry for playing Baldur's Gate 3
is 1 and 2.
is you've had to play 1 and 2. Like, even if you didn't beat either of them, you've had to have played them. And then we can be on equal footing and we can enjoy these games. You can't play them. You're not allowed to play Baldur's Gate 3, kid.
You can't just start at 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's designed so you can play at 3, but I had that feeling of, like, I had this investment that I wasn't allowed to share because they hadn't.
Yeah, it's really rough when people around you try to get into the Final Fantasy series. It's like, you have to play 20 games before you're allowed to come to me and say you like Final Fantasy 16. Well, including the shutdown MMO.
That exists, though.
Well, the MMO doesn't.
No, but I'm saying
anymore.
that feeling.
Right, yeah,
of that being your thing. And it's sad, like, BBB, Blade Battlebrain, sit really well in the Age forum, or well, the Paradox forum, which is, I enjoy playing number 4. It's an interesting game. It's no longer my game. And it was sad to read that, and like some of the other people are like Jolly Joker, I think, also agreed with them. But it's sad to see them saying like, I'm happy. It's like a broad appeal game. A lot of people playing it. They made a lot of money. This game is more popular than number 3 ever was. It's not my game anymore.
Yeah.
And it was sad because like the rumblings of Titanfall, like all the Age of Wonders 3 players who played Titanfall afterwards, we felt that. We were like, this isn't what we were hoping for. This isn't what we expected. This isn't entirely what I want. A lot of number 3 players really enjoyed Titanfall. And it's like, ooh, this is a different experience. I hope they don't do this again for number 4. And then number 4 doubled down on Titanfall and kind of broke my heart.
Number 2 had shadow magic. If number 4 has a shadow magic, that would be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you say BBV said that, that's because him and I have very similar taste in games.
Yeah.
So from what I've seen, because he used to do a game review website.
Yeah.
So I've read his stuff, and yeah, I like his takes.
Yeah, 'cause he like.
Well, he's also a great game designer, so yeah.
He's enjoyed number 4 from what I've read on the forums. Like he's enjoyed it, but it's not his game.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that because it was. Well, maybe that's just part of it being popular too. Like, because it was a community, right? Like, we all knew each other. Yeah. We all talked to each other. We talked to the developers, and now the developers, they don't have time for the little folk. Yeah. Well, maybe they do, but you know, it's a much bigger project now.
Honestly, they would love to have you modding for their game.
I miss modding. It was good. Just.
Like, I think it's a real shame because, like, if you got your hands on the modding engine and before, you could do some interesting stuff.
They did, like, devlogs for Planetfall with their updated modding engine, and I was like, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's so much better than number 3's modding engine. And the biggest thing is you don't have to fiddle around with Photoshop anymore.
Yeah, well, one of the things, like...
I hate that part.
Well, I was saying it'd be amazing if you modded for number 4. is you've played all the other games, and so you know what Age of Wonders is, and so your mods would be what Age of Wonders is.
Well, BBB's decent at modding, and he tried to make an Age of Wonders 1 mod for 3. It was way too ambitious. He had to give up, but
Yeah.
but I could see him or Gloweye doing some good work. Das Mentat is an amazing modder, and I'm sure he's playing number 4, but he's crazy. Like he's not. He's like German. He's like the opposite of crazy. He's so sane. You can't understand his mind. Like, have you seen the Empire mod for number 3? It adds like 4 times as many units as are in the base game, and it has a 200-page manual with illustrations.
Yeah,
and
that manual is why I haven't played it.
Like, and he's like, I recommend you read the manual before. It's like,
yeah,
you're insane. No, you're you're German.
Yeah,
you're not insane. You're the opposite of insane. You're so sane nobody can comprehend your man.
So just on mods and to wrap
Work
it up.
ethic. Yeah.
So Conquest of Elysium.
Yeah.
How we're talking about one of those big problems of the suicidal things.
Yeah.
Do you know what one of the most popular mods for Conquest of Elysium is?
Invincible AIs or something?
No. It gives every single starting city that you play with a defensive commander who has no movement points, and he's an archer, and he can't leave his city. And no matter what faction you started, you get this commander as well.
So you can't lose accidentally.
Yes. And so the AI doesn't commit suicide.
And you don't just...
Oh, there's other mods that make their AI smarter and make them take less risks. But this is by far the most popular, and the mod maker's just... There you go.
Got a solution. Got a problem, got a solution. Bing, bang, boom. That's good. I like... sometimes you just got to lean into it, right?
Yeah. I've been loving my current playthrough of Dominions as well. I have a mod which is the Gerudo people.
Oh, neat.
And so Gandorf is my god. And he's currently walking around in his inventory with the Ark of the Covenant.
Does it have special items from Legend of Zelda 2? Or?
Maybe the actual proper mod, this is just one faction.
Right. Or does the god have... does the faction... Do factions normally have special god powers?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they have unique spells.
Right.
And I have a bunch of Gerudo women. Actually, one of my favorite things is if you send your prophet to your city, you can send them to a site, and every turn it summons 3 Gerudo thieves. So there's this big thing, I don't know which one it was, but basically a bunch of items went missing all over the kingdoms in Legend of Zelda, and it's because the Gerudo were stealing it, because they're land of thieves. Gandorf's the king of thieves, so this is based off of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And so you get these units, and so it'll be a Gerudo woman. However, she'll have a Bane sword and wearing Bane armor. And it says, somewhere in the underworld, Wraith right now is wondering where his Bane sword went. And then you'll have another one, the Tiranoog, illusion armor and spear?
Yeah.
And horse? So one of the Gerudo women will be mounted on that. So somewhere in Tiranoog right now, Fiona is wondering what happened to his spear. And there's about 50 units like that. And so you can have a fire wizard is wondering what happened to his staff, and a Knight of Ohm is wondering what happened to his magical black armor and his sword. And so I love that little feature, but so what Arc does, the Arc of Covenant does, is it casts Arc at the start of combat. And that makes it so enemies die, go blind, and run away in fear and get diseased. Constantly. Also, any unit on your side that isn't sacred also gets affected by that. And so I have a bunch of sacred units, but it feels wrong to have Ganondorf. So he's walking along with his 2 swords. He has the Arc, he has he has this orb that summons undead, he has this helmet of a paladin, which makes him, he is Awe 9 with his magic items.
Which means people can't attack him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have to pass a leadership test of 10 to be able to even try to attack him. And so Ganondorf walks onto the battlefield, and then...
Can you give awe to sacred units?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he walks onto the battlefield, and one of his retainers has the Sword of Flame, which casts Heat of Hell on the battlefield. And so the apocalypse starts when he enters the battlefield. But it's coming from the Ark of the Covenant that Ganondorf is carrying around. And it just feels slightly wrong that, and how I'm winning fights is, the enemies are just really annoying, but Ganondorf just shows up with his, elite units there. So my units are so blessed that they regenerate, they're half undead, they're on fire and freezing at the same time, they're completely immune to fire damage and ice damage. And so he just shows up, and I win the fight, because the enemies see him, and they run away in terror.
You know how Elmore or whatever it's called, their lands slowly die? Like, no matter what you do, their populations just dwindle. Ganondorf should have ones where his lands are more bountiful, like his sacred lands are more bountiful than normal, but they slowly turn to desert, and then you lose all resources, and you have to keep moving.
How he works is...
you have to become a vassal to a new kingdom.
Ganondorf, all of his units have death recruitment, so they cost less money to recruit in land that has death. And all of his units have cold resistance or fire resistance, because that's the Gerudo as is cold or hot. And so your lands are either on fire or they're freezing and they're filled with death. But you can recruit Gerudo women because they all have death recruitment, so they're cheaper to recruit, they have less resources. And so if you're in his domain, it sucks for everyone. And over time it'll suck for you because it's full of death. But so you want to keep expanding, and you're basically spraying death, so it sort of does what you say.
Because in like Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, he hates the desert.
Yeah.
Like the desert is a curse.
Yeah.
And he's trying to escape it and stop the wind.
Yeah.
His enemy is the wind, not Link.
Yeah. But it's... One thing which I was thinking about when I was playing is it would be really cool if every single unit of the game had their own name. If you clicked on the unit, you could read their name. So I was thinking, that'd be way too much data.
Don't they already?
They don't.
Okay.
Only heroes have names.
Okay.
But I was like, that'd be way too much data. Then I was looking at the phase of aging everything. And I clicked on a unit, like I did the really detailed battle report, because now you can expand that.
Yeah.
And like, this one unit, like he doesn't have a name, but he's missing an arm. He's 50 years old. He's being cursed permanently. And his sword has degraded, so it's like a rusted sword. And then I was looking at a different thing, and one of my units had her helmet explode. And so she's charging through the battlefield, and I can see her actual head. She doesn't have a helmet, because it, like, if you're modding, you can do a lot of stuff with, like, the armor degradation, giving people items. So her helmet and her chest plate has degraded. So she's got, like, these iron bands on her arms, her giant axe, and her, like, leg plates. But then it's just a Gerudo woman underneath, and it's like, well, you're keeping track of all this. You could give them all names.
Maybe you can rename them.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of neat.
It's such a cool game.
Yeah, man, I gotta get back into that at some point.
But I think my favorite thing to do with it is actually play it multiplayer on a medium-sized map. Because when you play it on a really large custom map, like the maps that look really cool, and you're in control of one nation, after a certain point it becomes busy work of, no, stop, no, stop. And you feel like you're playing the Malazan Empire of like, I have my 3 elite armies. And then suddenly, like, the god of death shows up with his army, attacks, and wipes out one of my armies. And so I have to send the Emperor with the bridge burners and Ruthing Gut and like I have to like gather the heroes of the Empire, and I punch the god of death down and get rid of him. It's like, okay, now I can go back to like having this elite force, and these guys all have their bows, and it's really cool because I like building units. This general will only have bow units, and this general will have my elites, and then this general will have a generalized army. And then a flaming wheel with a lion's head and 5 arms shows up and goes, burn, heretics, and everyone catches fire and dies. And that's very Malazan.
Yeah. Well, plus the thrones. Like,
yeah.
You sit on the thrones to win. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very Malazan. But it's sometimes annoying because, like, I was playing Ulm, and they have the most elite generic units in the game. And so you can, like, crush all the independents. You're playing the game, you're going along, and so I'm playing Ulm, I'm having a great time. And then Pangea, the fallen Pangea, so the undead Pangea, I barely fight them off. I'm doing my best to fight them off. Then the fish people come out of the sea with their eldritch horrors, and my poor men of Ulm, and their armor makes them immune to magic. All their heads explode, and my strongest army loses. And my arch wizard, who's my god, is just like, alright, enough of this. And he makes the oceans boil, and he calls down a rain of fire on all my enemies. And I was like, this isn't what I was playing earlier. I was having fun with all my Ulm units, and they felt elite, and I had each general. I had like Alfred and Adolf, and they're Germans, so they have a bunch of German names, and I had Hans, so I had like all my Ulm guys, and they're all dead, and so now my wizard, Elminster, is just like, well, I'm a level 9 fire mage, so the world's just going to burn. So I think smaller map might actually be better, and multiplayer might be better, even though it's
Just
weird.
play by yourself, yeah.
Or even just play against yourself and control every nation.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're just about to say we gotta wrap up,
Yeah.
so we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
All right.